Hey gorgeous souls, I'm Jennifer. And I'm about to tell you the most shocking neighbor betrayal story that turned our peaceful suburban street into a war zone. For 15 years, my neighbor Lisa had been like family to us, babysitting our kids, hosting block parties, and being the person I trusted most in our neighborhood. But when my marriage hit a rough patch, Lisa saw her opportunity to steal my husband Mark and destroy our family while pretending to be my supportive friend. But here's where this suburban housewife showed everyone what happens when you mess with the wrong family. I exposed Lisa's husband-stealing scheme at the annual neighborhood barbecue in front of 80 neighbors, got her kicked out of every social group and made her life so miserable that she had to sell her house and move across the country. Oh, and that marriage she thought she was going to steal. Mark and I renewed our vows while Lisa watched from her moving truck. This story has everything: suburban drama, neighbor manipulation, husband-stealing schemes, and the kind of revenge that turned a trusted friend into the neighborhood pariah. Y'all ready for this street war? Because this is how I defended my family against a snake in the grass who lived right next door. Beautiful souls, let me take you back to our picture-perfect suburban life in Maple Grove, a family-friendly neighborhood in Denver, Colorado, where everyone knew everyone and we all thought we were living the American dream together. I'm Jennifer, 38 years old, married to my husband Mark for 16 years with two amazing kids, Tyler, who's 14, and Emma, who's 11. Mark works as an electrical engineer, and I'm a part-time teacher at the local elementary school. Our neighbor Lisa Davidson has lived next door to us for 15 years, ever since she moved in as a young single woman right after college. Lisa is 35, works as a real estate agent, and never married or had kids of her own. Over the years, Lisa became like extended family to us. She was the cool aunt figure to Tyler and Emma, the neighbor who'd watch our house when we traveled, and my closest friend in the neighborhood. Lisa and I did everything together: morning walks, weekend shopping trips, book club meetings, and organizing all the neighborhood social events, like block parties and holiday celebrations. I'm so grateful to have you as neighbors, Lisa would always say. You guys are the family I never had. Mark and Jennifer, you're living the life I hope to have someday. Lisa was particularly close to Mark, sharing his interest in home improvement projects and often asking for his help with repairs around her house. Mark, you're so handy with everything, Lisa would say. I don't know what I'd do without having such a helpful neighbor. Jennifer is so lucky to have married someone so capable. About 2 years ago, Mark and I started going through some relationship challenges that put stress on our marriage. Mark had been laid off from his engineering job and was struggling to find new employment in his field. The financial stress and his wounded pride were affecting his mood and our relationship. I was working extra hours to cover our expenses, which meant less time for family activities and couple time. We'd been arguing more frequently about money, parenting decisions, and household responsibilities. I feel like we're just roommates managing logistics instead of being husband and wife, Mark complained during one particularly difficult conversation. Mark started spending more time in the garage working on projects, claiming he needed space to think and decompress from the stress of job hunting. Lisa was aware of our marital struggles because I'd confided in her as my closest friend and neighbor. Marriage is so hard sometimes, I'd tell Lisa during our morning walks. Mark and I are going through a really rough patch, and I'm not sure how to fix things. You guys are such a strong couple, Lisa would reassure me. Every marriage has difficult periods. Mark just needs time to get back on his feet professionally, and then things will improve. As our marriage difficulties continued, Lisa began inserting herself more actively into our family life under the guise of being supportive. Lisa started bringing dinner over for our family several times a week, claiming she wanted to help reduce my stress during this difficult time. You're working so hard, Jennifer, Lisa would say. Let me take care of dinner so you can focus on supporting Mark and being there for the kids. Lisa also began spending more time at our house, often staying for dinner and lingering afterward to help with dishes or homework supervision. I love being part of your family routine, Lisa would say. It feels so natural and comfortable here. You guys make me feel like I belong somewhere. Lisa started taking on more responsibilities with Tyler and Emma, driving them to activities when I was working and Mark was job hunting. The kids are like my own, Lisa would tell other neighbors. I'm just trying to help Jennifer and Mark get through this challenging time without the children suffering. Looking back, I can see that Lisa was systematically inserting herself into our family dynamic while positioning herself as indispensable during our vulnerable period. About 6 months ago, I started noticing changes in both Lisa's and Mark's behavior that seemed strange but not necessarily alarming. Lisa began asking very specific questions about Mark's job search, his daily schedule, and his emotional state. "How is Mark handling the unemployment?" Lisa would ask. "Is he getting discouraged? Does he talk to you about how he's feeling?" Lisa also started making comments about Mark that seemed more personal than neighborly concern. "Mark is such an amazing man," Lisa would say. "He's so talented and capable. Any company would be lucky to have him. I hope he knows how valuable he is." Meanwhile, Mark's mood started improving, and he seemed more optimistic and energetic than he'd been in months. "I'm feeling much better about everything," Mark would tell me. "I think this rough patch is temporary, and things are going to work out fine." Mark also started paying more attention to his appearance, working out more regularly, and buying new clothes. "I want to look professional and confident for job interviews," Mark explained when I commented on his increased focus on fitness and grooming. Mark began spending more time outside in the yard and garage, often when Lisa happened to be working in her garden or coming and going from her house. Gorgeous souls. The truth about Lisa's scheme to steal my husband came to light in the most devastating way. Through my own daughter's innocent observation that made me realize my trusted neighbor was actually my worst enemy. The first real clue that something was wrong came from my 11-year-old daughter, Emma, during a casual conversation about our neighbors. "Mom, why does Miss Lisa always look so pretty when she knows Dad is going to be outside?" Emma asked one evening while we were making dinner. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked, not immediately understanding the significance of her question. "Well, when Dad is in the garage or working in the yard, Miss Lisa always comes outside wearing makeup and nice clothes," Emma explained. "But when it's just you home, she looks normal, like she just woke up." Emma's observation made me start paying closer attention to Lisa's behavior patterns around Mark. I began noticing that Lisa would indeed appear in her yard, always looking perfectly groomed. Whenever Mark was visible outside our house, Lisa would find excuses to approach Mark, asking for help with heavy items, requesting his opinion on landscaping choices, or needing assistance with home maintenance issues. "Mark, could you help me move this patio furniture?" Lisa would call out whenever Mark was working in our garage. "I'm thinking about repainting my front door. What color do you think would look best?" Lisa would ask, always when Mark was within earshot. My suspicions were confirmed when I accidentally saw text messages between Mark and Lisa on Mark's phone. Mark had left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered, and a text notification from Lisa popped up on the screen. The preview showed, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow when Jennifer is at work. I've been thinking about our conversation, ... single quotes." My heart started racing as I realized Mark and Lisa had been communicating privately and planning to meet when I wasn't home. When Mark came downstairs, I confronted him about the text message. "Mark, why is Lisa texting you about meeting when I'm not home?" I asked directly. Mark looked panicked for a moment before claiming the meetings were about helping Lisa with home improvement projects. "Lisa has been asking for help with some repairs, and it's easier to focus on the work when there aren't distractions," Mark explained unconvincingly. "What kind of repairs require secrecy and planning around my work schedule?" I pressed. Mark became defensive and accused me of being paranoid and controlling. "Jennifer, Lisa is our neighbor and friend. She needs help, and I'm being neighborly. I can't believe you're making this into something suspicious." Mark's defensive reaction convinced me that something inappropriate was happening between him and Lisa. I decided to investigate their relationship by monitoring their interactions and looking for evidence of inappropriate contact. I started paying closer attention to Mark's behavior, his schedule, and his interactions with Lisa. I also began checking our home security cameras, which captured our front yard and driveway area where Lisa and Mark often had their casual encounters. Reviewing the footage, I discovered that Lisa and Mark had been having lengthy conversations in our driveway, often standing very close together and engaging in what looked like intimate body language. In one video, I could see Lisa touching Mark's arm repeatedly during their conversation and Mark leaning in close to speak with her. I also found evidence that Mark had been going to Lisa's house during times when he claimed to be job hunting or running errands. Our neighborhood has a community app where neighbors post about suspicious activities, and I could see from posts that Mark's car had been parked in Lisa's driveway for hours on multiple occasions. Further investigation revealed that Mark and Lisa were having an emotional affair that appeared to be developing into something more serious. I found additional text messages between them discussing their feelings for each other and their frustrations with Mark's marriage to me. "I hate seeing you unhappy in your marriage," Lisa had texted Mark. "You deserve someone who appreciates how amazing you are. Being with you makes me remember what it feels like to be valued and understood," Mark had responded. "Jennifer and I have grown apart, and I don't think we can fix it." The text messages also revealed that Lisa had been actively encouraging Mark to consider divorce and offering herself as an alternative to our marriage. "You have a right to be happy," Lisa texted. "Life is too short to stay in a marriage that isn't fulfilling. You could have a completely different future if you were brave enough to choose it. Lisa was systematically undermining my marriage, while pretending to be my supportive friend and neighbor." The emotional affair between Mark and Lisa escalated to a physical relationship, which I discovered through additional surveillance and evidence gathering. I hired a private investigator named Sarah Chen to document Mark and Lisa's activities. During times when I was at work, Sarah's surveillance confirmed that Mark was spending several hours at Lisa's house multiple times per week, entering through her back door to avoid being seen by other neighbors. The surveillance photos showed Mark and Lisa embracing in her backyard, kissing in her garage, and clearly engaging in intimate physical contact. Sarah also documented that Lisa and Mark had taken overnight trips together, with Mark claiming to me that he was attending job fairs or networking events in other cities. Hotel records showed that Lisa had booked rooms in Mark's name for romantic getaways, while I thought my husband was working on his career recovery. The evidence was overwhelming. Lisa had successfully seduced my husband and was planning to steal him away from our family. Beautiful souls. Once I had proof of Lisa's husband's stealing scheme, I decided that if she wanted to play games in our neighborhood, I was going to make sure the entire street knew exactly what kind of person lived next door to them. Instead of confronting Lisa privately or immediately demanding answers from Mark, I decided to plan a comprehensive exposure that would destroy Lisa's reputation in our tight-knit neighborhood community. I spent 2 weeks gathering additional evidence and preparing for a public revelation that would ensure Lisa faced maximum social consequences for her betrayal. I documented every piece of evidence: photos, text messages, hotel receipts, and witness testimony from the private investigator. I also researched Lisa's involvement in neighborhood organizations, social groups, and professional associations that would be affected by news of her affair with a married neighbor. Lisa was the president of our homeowners association, organizer of the annual neighborhood garage sale, and coordinator of the Neighborhood Watch program. Lisa's real estate career also depended heavily on referrals from neighbors and community connections throughout our area. My plan was to destroy Lisa's standing in every aspect of her social and professional life simultaneously. The perfect opportunity for Lisa's public destruction came with our neighborhood's annual summer barbecue, which Lisa had been organizing for the past 5 years. The barbecue was scheduled for Saturday afternoon in the community park, with about 80 neighbors expected to attend, including families, couples, and longtime residents. Lisa had been planning the event for months, coordinating food, entertainment, and activities for children. "This year's barbecue is going to be the best one yet," Lisa had told me just 2 weeks earlier. "I've put so much work into making it special for everyone in the neighborhood." Lisa saw the barbecue as her moment to shine as the neighborhood's social coordinator and community leader. Instead, it was going to become the day her reputation was destroyed forever. At the barbecue, Lisa was in her element, greeting neighbors, coordinating activities, and basking in praise for her organizational skills. "Lisa, you've outdone yourself again," neighbors were telling her. "This community is so lucky to have someone like you who cares so much about bringing everyone together." Mark was also at the barbecue, playing the role of supportive neighbor and helpful husband while secretly planning his future with Lisa. About halfway through the event, I asked for everyone's attention to make an announcement. "Everyone, I have something important to share with our neighborhood community," I began, standing in front of the 80 gathered neighbors. "For 15 years, we've all trusted Lisa Davidson as our neighbor, our friend, and our community leader. We've welcomed her into our homes, included her in our families, and relied on her to organize our social events." Lisa was smiling, thinking I was about to give her a public thank you speech for organizing the barbecue. But I recently discovered that Lisa has been systematically seducing my husband Mark and planning to destroy our family while pretending to be my closest friend. The crowd went completely silent. Lisa's face turned white with shock and panic. I pulled out printed copies of text messages between Lisa and Mark and began reading them aloud to the gathered neighbors. These are messages where Lisa tells my husband that he deserves better than his marriage and encourages him to divorce me. I announced. I read Lisa's text message. You have a right to be happy. Life is too short to stay in a marriage that isn't fulfilling. I also showed surveillance photos of Lisa and Mark embracing and kissing in her backyard. These photos were taken last Tuesday while I was at work and my children were at school. I explained to the horrified neighbors, Lisa has been using her position as our trusted neighbor to gain access to my family and seduce my husband while pretending to support me through our marriage difficulties. Lisa tried to defend herself. This is a misunderstanding. Jennifer is going through a difficult time and misinterpreting innocent friendship. But I had hotel receipts and travel records showing Lisa and Mark's overnight trips together. Lisa, there's nothing innocent about booking hotel rooms for romantic getaways with someone else's husband, I replied. The reaction from our neighbors was immediate and devastating for Lisa. Lisa, how could you do this to Jennifer and her family? Demanded Mrs. Patterson, our 70-year-old neighbor who had always treated Lisa like a granddaughter. We trusted you with our homes and our children, said Tom Rodriguez, another longtime neighbor. If you'd betray your closest friend, what does that say about your character? The neighborhood families with children were particularly disgusted that Lisa had been undermining a family while babysitting and caring for Tyler and Emma. You've been in Jennifer's house, caring for her children, while seducing her husband, said Maria Santos, mother of 3. That's sick and twisted behavior. Lisa's role as Homeowners Association president was immediately called into question. We can't have someone with this kind of judgment representing our community, announced Bob Wilson, the HOA treasurer. Lisa tried to leave the barbecue, but the damage was already done. 80 neighbors had witnessed her public humiliation and exposure as a home wrecker. Following the barbecue exposure, I launched a systematic campaign to ensure Lisa faced consequences in every aspect of her neighborhood and professional life. I contacted the Homeowners Association board and provided evidence of Lisa's inappropriate conduct with a married neighbor. Lisa was removed from her position as HOA president and banned from organizing future neighborhood events. I also informed the parents in our neighborhood about Lisa's behavior, leading to her being excluded from all family-related activities and childcare arrangements. We can't trust someone who would betray a friend and destroy a family to be around our children, multiple parents told me. Lisa's real estate career began suffering as neighborhood connections and referrals dried up. Would you work with a real estate agent who seduced her neighbor's husband? Became the question spreading throughout our community networks. Gorgeous souls, Lisa's public humiliation at the barbecue was just the beginning of her complete social and professional destruction. While my marriage emerged stronger than ever and my family was finally protected from the snake who'd been living next door. In the days following the barbecue exposure, Lisa tried desperately to salvage her reputation and relationships in the neighborhood. Lisa sent long emails to neighbors trying to explain her behavior and minimize the affair. I made a mistake in developing feelings for Mark, but Jennifer is exaggerating the situation, Lisa wrote. I never intended to hurt anyone. And I think Jennifer's reaction is disproportionate to what actually happened. Lisa also tried to claim that Mark had pursued her and that she was the victim of his manipulation. Mark told me his marriage was over and that he and Jennifer were getting divorced, Lisa claimed. I thought I was dating a man who was available. But the evidence I'd presented, including text messages where Lisa actively encouraged Mark to leave me, made her victim narrative impossible to believe. Neighbors who had considered Lisa a close friend were disgusted by her attempts to avoid responsibility for her actions. Lisa is still lying and trying to manipulate people, Mrs. Patterson told other neighbors. She hasn't shown any genuine remorse for what she did to Jennifer's family. The public exposure of his affair was a devastating wake-up call for Mark about what he was throwing away. Jennifer, I can't believe I let Lisa manipulate me into jeopardizing our family, Mark confessed after the barbecue disaster. Seeing the whole neighborhood's reaction made me realize how wrong I've been and how much damage I was about to cause to you and the kids. Mark immediately cut all contact with Lisa and asked for my forgiveness and a chance to rebuild our marriage. I was vulnerable because of the job loss and feeling like a failure, Mark explained. Lisa took advantage of that vulnerability. But that doesn't excuse my choices. Mark and I started marriage counseling to work through the betrayal and rebuild trust in our relationship. I almost destroyed the best thing in my life because I was listening to someone who didn't actually care about my well-being, Mark told our counselor. Within 6 months, Mark had found a new job, and our marriage was stronger than it had been in years. Going through this crisis showed us how much we actually love each other and want to fight for our family, I realized. Lisa's real estate career collapsed as word of her affair spread throughout the local business community. Clients canceled listings, potential buyers refused to work with her, and her brokerage began distancing themselves from the scandal. Lisa's behavior reflects poorly on our company's values and professionalism, her broker told her. We need to consider whether this association is beneficial for either party. Lisa lost several major listings and was eventually forced to leave her brokerage. Her attempts to join other real estate companies were unsuccessful because her reputation for unprofessional conduct had spread throughout the industry. Lisa also lost her social connections and friendships throughout the community. The book club, yoga group, and volunteer organizations that had been central to Lisa's social life all asked her to stop participating. We can't have someone with Lisa's judgment representing our organization, the leader of Lisa's favorite charity told her. The most satisfying aspect of Lisa's downfall was watching our close-knit neighborhood community unite against her behavior. Neighbors who had trusted Lisa with house sitting, pet care, and emergency contacts removed her from all their emergency lists. We can't trust someone who betrayed their closest neighbor to be responsible for our homes and safety. Neighbors explained. Lisa was excluded from all neighborhood social events, holiday parties, and community gatherings. The annual garage sale, Halloween celebrations, and holiday decorating contests that Lisa had previously organized all continued without her involvement. The neighborhood is actually more peaceful and trustworthy without Lisa's drama and manipulation, neighbors commented. Children in the neighborhood were told by their parents that Lisa was not a safe person and should not be trusted or engaged with alone. The social isolation and professional consequences became so overwhelming that Lisa was forced to sell her house and move away from our neighborhood. I can't continue living somewhere where everyone knows about my mistake, Lisa told the few remaining people who would speak with her. Lisa's house went on the market 6 months after the barbecue incident, and she moved to a different state to start over. Lisa realized she'd destroyed 15 years of relationships and community connections for an affair that lasted a few months. Our mutual neighbor observed. Watching Lisa's moving truck drive away was incredibly satisfying after everything she'd put my family through. She tried to steal my husband and destroy my family, I told Mark as we watched from our window. Instead, she destroyed her own life and lost everything she'd built here. Today, 2 years after Lisa's exposure and departure, our family is thriving and our neighborhood is stronger than ever. Mark and I renewed our wedding vows in a ceremony, attended by 60 of our neighbors who had supported us through the crisis. This community rallied around our family when we needed it most, I said during the vow renewal ceremony. That's the kind of neighborhood we're proud to call home. Tyler and Emma learned valuable lessons about loyalty, trust, and the importance of protecting family relationships. Mom, I'm proud of how you stood up for our family, Tyler told me. You showed me what it means to fight for the people you love. Our marriage is stronger because we worked through the crisis together and emerged with deeper appreciation for our relationship. Almost losing you made me realize how much our family means to me, Mark tells me regularly. I also became more involved in neighborhood leadership, helping to organize events and build the kind of community trust that Lisa had violated. Jennifer showed us what real friendship and community loyalty looks like, neighbors say. I learned that some people will exploit your trust and vulnerability to get what they want, but that community support and family strength can overcome any betrayal. Lisa thought she could manipulate a marriage crisis to steal my husband and integrate herself into my family's life. Instead, her scheme destroyed her reputation, her career, and her entire life in our community while making my marriage and family stronger than ever. That's how you handle a neighbor who tries to steal your husband, y'all. You expose their betrayal publicly, let the community decide their fate, and focus on protecting and strengthening your family. Sometimes the best revenge comes from letting someone's own actions destroy their life while you rebuild yours even stronger. And gorgeous souls, if this story resonated with you, if you've dealt with betrayal from people you trusted or neighbors who violated your boundaries, I want you to know that community support and family loyalty are more powerful than manipulation and deception. If you want to hear more stories like this, more tales of neighbor drama, husband stealing schemes exposed, and community justice served, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I post new revenge stories every week. Your support means everything to me, beautiful souls. Every like, every comment, Every share helps me reach more people who need to hear these stories. So, smash that subscribe button. Leave me a comment about your own neighbor drama experiences. And let's build a community of people who protect their families and support their real friends. I'll see you gorgeous souls in the next story. And remember, trust your instincts, protect your family, and never let anyone take advantage of your kindness.